say it broke down.
Yeah, right. I like that plan.
Do them all.
Go right ahead.
Okay, we're going to close the executive session and
No.
reopen our city council meeting and then take a 5-minute break recess.
Reopen.
I think you say no action.
I did reopen.
Okay, anyway, I'll be back.
Break.
Do we have to say no action from those prior? Can someone let me out and not lock me out?
Where are you going?
I'm running away.
Don't tell me you're gonna go have a smoke.
Secret knock on
Delivered into the secret.
Ding dong. What did he say? Right now it says slow.
You're gonna let us know in February what good days.
But he said it's not worth it right now.
To go.
Good.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
You on a break?
Yes.
What the hell are you doing?
Why is the camera pointing over here instead of like right down the middle?
Did y'all hit it? Crazy. There it is. It's in the middle.
I apologize, I got sidetracked. I didn't run your request yet. I'll take care of it first thing in the morning.
What are you doing?
Oh, you're moving. Oh.
What?
I moved
You moved it, like, look at what you did. You got, just like, do it like a little tick. There you go.
I'm wondering if it might not be one of those houses on Brumman.
You need back in.
Can't think that's 3.
Getting cool outside. Open that door and I can feel the breeze.
There's a freeze coming.
Is there?
Are you ready, friend?
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay. We're back in open session regarding the closed executive session items. There'll be no action taken on either item. So we'll move on to the consent agenda, which is item 7.
Item L, do we need to take?
Nope. Okay. Item 7, the consent agenda. There's only one item in the consent agenda, which is the city council meeting minutes of December 17th. Any comments, anything, you want to pull those or you? want to-
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Okay. Fran?
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Zalmine,
Yes.
Chairperson Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Breeden.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, number 8, items from consideration. We'll start with item B, which is ordinance. Second reading, amending Chapter 12, licenses and business regulations, Article 8, short-term rentals, amending procedures for registration, standards of conduct, penalty and enforcement, and providing for severance reading and effective date.
Is Rick joining us on this one?
Councilmember Clark.
Rick, are you there?
Rick!
Yeah.
I'm here. Everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
I got a question, just real quick before we get into it.
All right.
Didn't you pull on 12, section 12, 253H? Didn't we pull that in last meeting? It was excessive noise or other disturbances outside of short-term rental.
Yes.
But it showed that this is still in this draft.
Hang on here. me.
Page 29 of the new packet.
Right. Well, I don't have the same package. Uh,
Page 30, well, it's page.
Yeah, it's blue.
yes, H was scrubbed in that, and I don't know why in this draft it's there, but that was eliminated completely.
Because we don't follow the regular ordinance.
Yeah, let me make sure that we've got the right one in here. That, Bruce, you're correct. That was scrubbed, and I apologize for not for that not being eliminated in this one.
What does the dark blue indicate?
The dark blue was the ones that we changed since the last one. So that should have been a strike through. That's
Yeah.
why you see two H's there. So that is, instead of underlined, that blue indicates that was one of the changes, and it's eliminated altogether.
Oh, so it should have been a strike through, not a highlight.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, yeah, it should have been not an underline, but a strike through.
Right.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
And what we did, Bruce, just as long as we're on that real quickly. So if you look on section 12-253, where we had minimum standards of conduct, we just pointed to the noise and lighting ordinance chapters for reference.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine. I just read that and I was like, I thought we pulled that out, and I didn't even realize that it was a highlight. I thought that was a change.
Right.
Which
It's a format. So if you note, it goes from G to the real H, which is the one below that. So like
Sure.
I said, I apologize for the formatting error.
Well, that's fine. I just read it and I thought, hey, I thought we pulled that. Okay. Sorry, I'll let you go back to it, sir.
All right. So probably the big takeaway I had from the last meeting was we wanted to make sure, first off, before we got too far into it, that everything was legal. So I immediately contacted Mike, confirmed that everything we were doing was well within our authority, sent him the ordinance. And again, I included the letter force, and again, because it was correspondence with between myself and council, that was redacted, for lack of a better term, to the public, but you guys do have the letter from Mike. That also included a couple of things that he and I discussed that are incorporated in what you see here, just some minor tweaks and consolidations of a couple things that I'll go through real quickly. Again, with that understanding is that, like I said, Mike did see this, and so what you see is kind of a joint effort between Mike and myself in this this version. Let me just start again with the highlighted, the blue. We'll start at 12. Hang on here. All right, so we'll start on 12-251, short-term rentals, that section. Are you there, Fran? There you go. The blue A, again, is just a formatting error. So disregard the A, but go to G. I rewrote this and again, ran it by Mike to just read a little bit better. So this really reads more towards the intent, which I know we've talked about, which isn't necessarily, really isn't even intended to go out there and look at a crowd on a balcony, but really it was for when we, and again, we've already started doing the visual inspections. When we're doing those inspections, if we see these rooms and things as it relates to in this verbiage that seems outside of how that unit was registered, then that visual inspection on our part does become at least the basis, prima facie basis for a possible violation. Example, we on one of the ones that we've recently renewed and inspected, they clearly had it registered with 4 bedrooms. It did not. It wasn't anywhere close. Forget the bunk room discussion. There were simply 3 bedrooms, 3 sleeping rooms. And so those are the kind of examples that visual inspection thus became the ability to cite. We didn't. We gave them a warning and a notice to correct. So that's the intent, and it was reworded, we think, to be a little clearer. In addition, on that same section, we consolidated another If you look at the very last sentence, and that was a consolidation of a separate item that we had in enforcement, establish of a prima facie level of proof doesn't preclude a showing of illegal occupancy any other way. That was just a separate item. We just incorporated into this since it was speaking of prima facie proof of violations. Anything on that section?
Hey, where are you at?
Page 26. Or it says 6 of 31 in the packet, or 7 of 31.
Right.
You know, somehow that helped me, because this
Yeah.
has 400 and some pages in it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me go on then to 12-252, registration and permit, item 6. And again, that blue highlight is correctly indicative of that whole area being stricken, because this was a big discussion point. So maximum occupancy is simply 2 persons per sleeping room plus an additional 4. And at the discussion last meeting, I understood there'd be a consensus that we included for properties that had greater than 3,500 square feet, that occupancy would change to 2 persons per sleeping room plus an additional 6. So that's what you see reflected there.
Yeah, and then in relationship to that, you guys had requested, that spreadsheet that I had, but you didn't have it. And Nicole put that together, Rick, and that's in the back of very back of this, behind the ordinance. And what Nicole did was she put together from January of 16 through January of 21. It's color coded, and then it has the date of the permit, the full address, the square footage of the structure, and then the number of the rooms. And it's color coded by subdivision. And the subdivisions are pretty much the down south big subdivisions. And then the gray is the in town. So everything from 1A back, 1A back. And so you get a breakdown of, if you guys are looking at that break right now, I know it's written at 3,500, but I think it was to be determined. You guys can figure out where that break is and
There's some of the colored is in town stuff.
Yeah, some of it is.
So not all. And the one thing, I think that this information is great. One thing I noticed though is these aren't actually all just houses. There's a lot of condominiums, townhomes, detached condos in here. So
these are dwelling units.
Right. I just want, because she just put on here new houses, and I wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, like
a lot of the new construction is not all just houses being built.
She put new residential construction.
Right, but on her details, she just put 687 new houses.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So it just, and when you look through the detail, you can see it's like 11th Street, building number 9, number 10, number 12, number 17, so.
Yeah, it should be new dwellings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's,
I
would
say, I think we just threw 3,500 in there, so that way we didn't change the basis of the ordinance, so to go start over again. And the number, you're right, was to be determined or to be tweaked at the next reading.
Yeah, so I took all that data you guys had and converted it, long story short, out of the 660 plus let's say the dwellings in this report, I went through each year, and then out of the total 600, there's 47 that were 3,500 or over out of that whole list.
Right.
Which is about 7%. Just FYI.
If you use what number?
35. So anything that had the square footage over 3,500 or over. So it was 47 dwellings. And so like an example, in 2020, 140 dwellings constructed, 10 of them were over the 35K, so roughly 7%. And just did that for each year. But overall, it's about 7%.
and her data showed that over 3,000 was only 77 units.
Yeah, I could check that. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Most of which were south of 1A.
And that
Yeah, or 11.
That common sense is going to tell you that the majority of those big houses are going to be down south. You want to go through rest of the changes, or would you guys want to just talk about the square footage right now? Or you want to go through the whole thing? What's your pleasure?
I want to talk about G. I have a question.
Okay.
When someone is inspecting, doing a visual inspection, in their opinion, it reveals a greater occupancy load than indicated. So that's their opinion. It's not necessarily that a fact. It's just their opinion that that's what it is. That's prima facie.
Prima facie is based on our visual inspection.
Yes.
But for example, the example I gave the example I gave is that the unit was registered with 4 bedrooms. It only had 3. That wasn't an interpretation. That was what we saw.
But my point is that person could be wrong making that.
Well, I think I
Making
understand.
the determination. Yeah.
Well, we're wrong all the time. Hopefully not as often as we're right. But the point is that if we see that, we have the basis to go back and say, explain this because you're subject to a citation based on that inspection. Like I said, that's
That's what I was wanting to know. They have recourse to our inspection.
well, yes, sir, and due process. I mean, if we didn't come to terms and we weren't in agreement, and we did determine that the best source to obtain compliance was a citation, they still have the court system to argue that point.
Okay.
But obviously we're pretty good about doing that judiciously.
Well, they'd go to BOA, wouldn't they, Rick?
I mean, if we made the determination and our recourse was a citation, then at that point they'd go to court and argue the point.
But isn't the whole idea of the prima facie is there's a placard outside that says 10 people, and if someone sees 20 people sleeping there, because there's a noise complaint or whatever, and Mr. Burrows goes up and sees that, he's seen there's a violation because it says 10 people and there's 20 in there. That's the prima facie. He doesn't have to wait for the neighbor to call in and say, hey, there's too many people here, and then he comes out and fills out the report and he can see that there's noise complaint, too many people there.
That could be the interpretation, and probably we could defend that. But the bigger piece is for us to go in there after we get a call from PD saying, hey, there's a big old party there. If we hadn't already done an inspection of that property, that would give us good cause to run in there and say, well, wait a minute, you've got a lot more people sleeping in here than what you've registered for. So explain that. So those are the type things that we gain by this. Because by doing the inspection, that's only one part. Without people in there, we could very seldom make the case that they're in violation. But with the bedroom example, by going in there and then having this saying, hey, we saw that there's only 3 bedrooms. So you can't advertise there's 4. Advertising 4 is a violation because that's incorrect. So that's really the bigger piece of this puzzle.
Okay.
Mayor, does that help?
It does. I'm just trying to think of the situation where you have a party there that's 20 or 30 people, and 15 of them pass out being drunk and are on the floor. Are they in violation of the sleeping thing?
Yes. They need to drive home.
It's probably not a good idea.
They probably have bigger problems driving home than they would be sleeping there.
So they can't be, we can't say that they're sleeping there. They're just passed out.
Well, I will say the good news, if they're passed out, sir, they're probably not making any noise.
Yeah.
Rick, I have a question on this. How do we enforce the occupancy for long-term rentals? Like, so like, is it just a long-term rental's next to a short-term rental and the long-term has a same party as a short-term rental? Are they facing any of the same restrictions?
Well, this is specifically a short-term rental component. The long-term rentals would be subject to, again, that would be subject then to the property codes that we've discussed kind of ad nauseum regarding space and everything else. In other words, if somebody were to rent a small dwelling to 15 people long-term, yeah, there'd still be an issue there that we'd go back to our codes and our fire safety. That's where we probably would enforce the existing property code and the property maintenance code. But I can tell you that those are very far and few between and rare. We've not even had an issue that we've identified where there was a long-term occupancy problem.
Hey, Rick, do you remember what the pushback was on this from the rental community? There was some pushback on it.
They want
The pushback, if I'm not mistaken, was really on the occupancy and the conflict between the identifying occupancy based on the International Property Maintenance Code once a house is built and finished, relative to our ordinance that had a different occupancy. So again, my takeaway from our previous discussions were we were going to make the short-term rental occupancy based on this ordinance, and any conflicts, this would prevail. Our short-term rental ordinance would prevail.
Okay.
That's the direction that I've gone on this, what you see here.
Okay.
All right then. Well, so again, going back the 3,500 foot you guys have talked about. I don't know if you want me to go ahead and finish, or you guys want to talk about that, or just go through all the other changes. And the others are going to be pretty routine. So maybe I just go through them all, and then you guys can you can open up the discussion. That's all right.
Yeah, that's fine, Rick.
All right. So again, finishing up 30 plus the additional 6 for a larger house, size to be determined. Again, this does make it very clear in the same section that section regarding occupancy will apply if in conflict with any other code or occupancy regulation. Again, that occupancy will be determined at the time the short-term rental permit's issued and or renewed. And again, this has all been in there from the start. Any capacity really can't be increased if somebody doesn't add on or anything else without that proper submission. So, we are being very mindful of room additions and everything else when it comes to short-term rental and the subsequent parking requirement. Number 7, again, that was just housekeeping, and we cleaned up. Every short-term rental will be assigned a unique permit number, period. It doesn't matter the type of short-term rental. So we just cleaned that up. And again, we left the part that hotels will register as a single unit and just pay a single fee. So hotels get a little bit of a break there. So we eliminated the next letter B. There really is the original 90 days to register was our very first, was on the initial adoption of this ordinance. So again, it was a grace period given to transition into the ordinance. And again, there's no longer a transition. The ordinance has been in effect. So we just took out the 90 days. Again, short-term rentals need to register as soon as they become a short-term rental. Again, so we just shortened up that next one as well. Transferability, short-term rental is not transferable. We just felt that the other part was redundant. Again, a new property owner needs to apply within 60 days. Again, if there's a new owner, they just, they're subject to the ordinance, on its face value. So that part just seemed redundant. So we just eliminated all of that.
I think, Rick, if you just want to address the changes since the last reading, which would just be the ones in blue, correct?
I think so. Yeah, I want to just make sure, because the formatting, since we really had kind of three different, revisions, I just want to go through there. And
Okay.
I think you're right. I think we're almost done. When we get down to, I think it's page 29 of your package, the number 2.
Yes.
Yeah, so there is no more initial registration. That was, again, at the very initial genesis of the ordinance. So registration, again, we wanted to clarify, it's 12 months, and that had been in the original one, but now we've just made sure that everyone knows that short-term rentals for 12 months, period. And it's going to be on a calendar. It's going to be on a 12 months.
And I think that's good. That's one of the changes we had talked about before, was so making people annually register. I guess my question to this is, how are you going to do like if you had some people register in November, right? So then technically they get till November 2022. Are we automatically going to just cut that back to November 2021 to make it 12 months? Are we going to wait for those original registrations of 24 months to expire and then go to 12?
I think we're going to look for a mechanism that's fair, and to try to implement this as they start to come up with registrations.
Because I would imagine we probably got a lot of registrations last year.
Well, my question is it 12 months, but is it just going to be like it starts January 1st and ends December 31st, and everybody comes in on January 1st?
I would think that logistically would not be fun.
No, but I can also see having to go through and making sure you're up to date for everybody is going to be a pain in the butt too. If everybody's expires, like the golf carts, everyone expires on December 31st, and everybody has to buy a new plate January 1st.
That is our goal.
It's a valid question, I think.
That is.
I mean, that's our goal. And again, we just felt that was the more manageable way to really get this enforced. Now, again, lessons learned from having this been in place for a few years now. So
I'm sorry, which way, Rick? I didn't catch that.
The calendar year. I mean, like you said, much like the golf cart license plates.
In contract.
We just get to a 12-month calendar year, calendar year basis. It's just for those that come in late in the game, just like our contractors who are on a calendar year. That they could come into the city on November 1, and their registration is going to be good for 2 months, and they're going to have to re-renew, and they're going to pay the same price. It's just a business expense in staff's eyes. But the benefits as far as enforcement and the simplicity in re-registering is monumental.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what we're proposing.
Would y'all be utilizing any software in the near future to help you with some of these reminders?
Oh God, I hope so.
And
funny you could ask. Yes, my staff, myself, Darla, we've all been talking about some type of software that accomplishes both our registration, our forensic analysis of the cheaters, which is extremely time consuming, but then also has the same capabilities to help with the hotel motel tax collection and assessments and all of that. So we are looking at that, Chuck, since you mentioned it. And with that will probably come again a slightly higher registration fee. We are now, in the scheme of things, woefully less than virtually any other similar jurisdiction. So like I said, once we determine what that software and what the cost will be, I can tell you we're probably going to be coming back with and again, I think it will still put us at the low end of any municipality of our nature. But again, it will fund that package that we think will be more than offset by a better, more efficient collection mechanism and way in which to find the ones that are under the radar.
We're also going to be looking at third party.
I was going to say, I'd
help you guys. Yeah.
I think it's worth the money, or getting the software or a third party.
And I said software. David's correct. Actually, we're looking at more the third party alternative. That's a better way to characterize it than the software. So the software will change with our existing module, but it's the third party that will help with all those things I described. And again, it does say registration fees will not be prorated. Like I said, it's just, you know, again, it's just one of those steps that we feel we need to take to really make this more efficient as the numbers of short-term rentals get back to not only, you know, pre-Harvey numbers, but we expect that we're going to far exceed that in the future. Let's see, the minimum standards of conduct, again, I think this was the same as we discussed before. Item 5 under that section, noise and lighting restrictions. In lieu of removing that other part, we just referenced the chapter, the 2 chapters that really pertain in most instances, which is noise and lighting. So it became very easy, you know, for them to find. We did add, I believe, since the last last one, number 7, which was in this information that has to be provided and posted. We did decide, Nicole was really, you know, thought that location of all required fire extinguishers. Carla and our fire marshal liked that, so we added that, location of all required fire extinguishers. Item H, I think, is another one. We've already talked about the blue highlight. That is removed.
Yeah, that one's the removed one.
We did add one, I'm sorry, to go right above it, item F. What we found since we started implementing our inspections, again, that is staff time that does that. Sometimes our building official goes. So much like our building permitting process, we will be bringing we are going to use the same inspection, reinspection fee as we have in our fee schedule. So that is something we've added in to just incentivize property managers or those contacts to not have us go out there and no show. So we did want to, we did add that. We didn't think that was a big stretch. We added that in. Let me see, let me make sure. I think everything else, guys, is pretty much as we discussed. And again, just to reiterate, Mike did look at all of our penalties and all of those pieces. And as his letter indicates, he's perfectly comfortable with all that.
Okay, so it looks to me like then we need to address that in section 12.252, item H needs to be a strike through.
Right.
And then we need to determine what number we want for the sleeping room plus X and square footage wise.
That's right.
Based on, looks like the summary on page 30.
It's 35 of the thing or 36 of the
35.
packet.
Right.
As I recall, the major problem is parking. So where does that come into play with those 3,500 square feet?
Joe, let me just throw something out there for consideration, because you're right, it absolutely does. Again, I think that what we see is that the majority of the larger houses, larger square footages are in the PUDs. Just again, for transparency and clarity, the PUDs by design have their own parking, so they're not subject to our in town. So I just want to make sure that we understand. So it doesn't matter how big or how many rooms that are finally determined or what their occupancy is, they still only have to have, in essence, you know, two parking places. So that, again, that's on them. We do know that that's a challenge for them. We are going to watch very closely, because they do set their own parking, that does not impede our emergency vehicles from navigating those areas. So the parking problem does kind of become their own issue, as long as it doesn't spill out and affect our emergency response to those areas.
And all the other ones, Joan, would be the 1 bedroom, 1 parking space requirement.
Yeah. I mean, really, it's a gimme of 2 people for a 3,500 square foot house or larger. That's all they're getting.
Correct.
Yeah, and they're gonna, those, I mean, I think you get to those larger size homes, they're gonna have they're going to be the ones that have probably additional people and, additional children included. So I still think based on the break, if you look at the spreadsheet and when it gets to the 3,000, there's, when you get to the really, really big houses, only because I know quite a few of these addresses, these aren't rentals. The 11,000 square foot house at the very bottom, that's not a rental.
No,
They're coded for non-rentals.
that's almost a castle.
And so, but I think there are quite a few rentals that are in these PUDs that are in this from 3,000 to 3,500 square feet. A bunch of them at 32, 33, 3,400 square feet. So I think we moved the number back down to 3,000, maybe 3,200 if they're in these PUDs, to give the break there for those additional rooms. It's just two more people, but
Fine with me.
Yeah, I think 3,000 is a good number.
I'm good either way.
I'm good either way as well.
I'm good with 3.
Okay, 3 works for me.
I think it's too low. I'm looking at bedrooms at 3,200 square feet. You've got 4 bedrooms, which is four parking spaces. If it's required.
Which is what?
It's 4 parking spaces. I think 3,250 would be a better number.
I'm sticking with it.
well, we need a motion, one way or the other. So
3 or 4?
3,000 or 3,250 seem to be the two suggestions.
I don't care, we flip a coin.
Be a starting point. And
Well,
we can always.
Well, there's only one more reading after this. So your experience, your property manager, what is your take on, what do you think?
I think this is a good step. It was a good approach in 16. It's good it's being revisited now. We're all recuperating from Harvey. There's still going to be a lot more properties coming online this year. And so with that said, I think we just got to get it to a point to make it manageable for the city.
Sure.
And then we can always adjust later.
I was thinking about more 3,000 or 3,250. Where's your take on those two numbers? What do you see?
To the point, from the 3 to the 3,250, the numbers, I don't think it's that much of an adjustment. I know it has something to do with the parking, but I can go either way. I would personally would like to work with the 3, and then we can always, if the 3 doesn't work,
can always
make it more manageable. Then
a 3,000 foot house is pretty big.
Yeah.
That's going to be something that is going to have at least 4 parking spaces, if not a turn in or like what's we're looking for, big driveway or big, whatever you want to call it.
Right, but there's going to be 6 people there. There may be 6 cars, right?
No, I think when you get to the bigger numbers, what you're gaining, because we're switching this from, adults and children to people, is the bigger houses are getting more children. That won't be that way in all the case, but I think where the real parking problems are these 1,500 square feet houses where they bring 4 cars. That's where the real problem is. So on a bigger house, 3,000 square feet, 3,200 square feet, 3,500 square feet, I think it's going to be accommodating multiple families that have multiple children, and children won't be driving cars.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion.
Quarter Angeles they do.
No, they drive golf carts, sir.
Golf carts.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve with set the limit at 3,000 square feet for a 6-person bump. Or for a 2-person bump, sorry.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Fran, call the roll. Wait, okay, Pat, I'm sorry. We need to do the correction.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't forget the
I amend my
correction.
motion to make the strikes out such as H and the other ones in the thing. And we set the limit to 3,000 square feet for a 2-person bump. Is that correct?
Sort of, yeah. I think we understand.
Nice.
Beth? Okay. Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Crawford,
yes.
Mayor Bouillon,
Yes.
Mayor Tim Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Valentine,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay, item C is a resolution awarding request for proposal RFP for the beach concessionaire agreement beginning February 1st, 2021, granting terms and renewal dates, setting locations of service, date and time of operation, equipment, rental rates, concession percentage payment to the city, collection and sale of beach parking and camping permits, and directing the city manager to sign any and all contract documents associated with said agreement.
So Natalia is having a hard time calling in, and she was wondering if we could call her on the city conference phone.
Well, let's wait to see if we have questions for her.
Yeah. I guess my question is, are we happy with the beach concession?
There's some things that we want, granted, this is the only response. So as you guys are aware, every 2 years, the beach concession comes up. It is widely known about. In years past, we've had numerous people apply. It gets put in the paper. So it's out there. It's a hard job. It's not a very glorious job. Bron has done it now for, when did he start? He's done 4?
Yeah, he finished the one for Scott Tanzer.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
he
right.
started in 18 after Harvey.
I think it's been this.
When did he start, Darla?
2018 was his first year post Harvey. Scott Tanzer had it, had the contract, and Braun assumed his last year. So I think he's
Oh,
done
that's right.
18, 19, and 20.
Okay, yeah, so 18 was the finish of Scott's, and then 19 and 20 was his first full term. Now it's
Correct.
come up again. Again, he was the sole bid. A couple things that I'm interested in is I thought Avenue G was way too cluttered. If you drove down G, at some points, he had 3 of those large rental cabana things just sitting there. They're 2-story high. His umbrellas went really far out. I think what I'd like to see is at Avenue G, and I kind of looked at it on Google Earth. I'd like to see a limit on the number of those large structures, and then at Avenue G, a 250-foot width for him to have his umbrellas, a 200-foot width at Access Road 1 and 1A, and a 100-foot width at Sandcastle. Now, and I think you guys don't have to get into those particulars. I think I can do that.
I think this is more of a.
Yeah, you guys are doing.
We just approve it, and you get to pick out what he gets and gets.
Right. I'm just kind of going over. Just you guys said, some things that we'd like to see.
Sure. Maybe
Different. And that's something that I'd like to see different is less clutter at Avenue G. I think it was a little bit too much.
When I think in this one, and from my reading is, we just have to say he has 100 umbrellas to rent, but you may say, well, Bron, you don't need to have 100, you need to have just 25 or 50 or whatever. I don't know. I guess my question was just, are you happy with him? If not, I don't know, maybe we don't have a beach concession.
Yeah, I mean, it took him a little bit last year to get the mobile going. Took a little prodding. I think, everyone last year was having some hiring issues. He did manage to catch up. And Darla, you could jump in. He did catch up and end up having a pretty good sale with the mobile. We just like his mobile sales are 2 to 1 over his fixed sales. So we like to see the mobile get going as quick as it can because it outperforms the fixed vendor sites.
Yes.
And so when that gets delayed, it's definitely a hurt. So we definitely want to get, work with him and getting that mobile vendor established as quick as we can, because that's the one that can really go up and down the beach and find the people that are in violation, whether they're knowingly doing it or not.
Sure.
Well, that was very handy to have that where you could just drive up and get your.
Yeah. Yes.
I like that.
Darla, compared to the last agreement, what is the financial difference? Is there any change? I mean, is he requesting a higher percentage like compared to the current contract? Because I can't remember.
For the permit sales, it's exactly the same. For, what did he put down for his percentage of rental?
20%.
20, and I think last time it was 30. I do.
Well, this says on page 77, and maybe it's, I don't know. But page 77 says 10% or 30% of entire gross monetary receipts of business exclusive of sales tax, blah, blah, blah. So
We required them to do a minimum of 10%. Previous vendors did 10%, and last time Braun, when he did it, he really wanted the business, and he proposed, I believe it was 30%. I'm trying to pull it up.
it looks like that was the last time.
Yeah, that's
So
the,
he went down to
The
20.
former bid,
yeah,
right?
that's the
Okay.
18, 19.
Okay, that's right.
And it just depends on how much he rents. The more that he rents, the higher percentage we get. What we really want him to push is our permits more than his rentals.
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, the item rentals, we want him to be successful.
Yes.
That's the only
I mean,
reason
we're
he's
not-
doing it, for the item rentals. He's not doing it for the,
And our beach fund doesn't,
yeah, he's not doing it for the stickers.
we're not counting on
Yeah.
beach rental money for that. So, I mean, our goal is to make him successful so that this venture becomes desirable, maybe for more than just one person.
The county has their own beach vendor, correct?
Yes, the county, no, the county gives out multiple vendor licenses.
Oh, they do?
At their discretion. So they have a surfboard rental, they have a surfboard school vendor. They have the vendor that runs the restaurant and pier. This year they added a umbrella and chair
They do?
vendor.
Okay, I guess that's.
So they can do whatever they want. They have an ice cream guy at times pushing a mobile push cart ice cream up and down the beach. So the county can do vendors at their discretion, not under the city's
Right.
coastal management plan.
I'm just a little surprised that their beach rental vendor did not try to apply for ours as well.
Well,
Because they're
yeah.
doing umbrellas and everything
Well, I'm
else.
gonna tell you, just from being a business person, it's hard to go hire 2 or 3 people to spend all day on the beach, go out, sell parking permits, and have them not go drive to somewhere and just sit at the bar and drink all day. I mean, and they're not people who you're going to pay, minimum wage to. These are going to be $10+ an hour people. So, from his standpoint, he's got to sell at least 11 parking permits just to break even. So, I know we want to push it, but during it's not a lucrative business. So you're right. We want him to make as much money selling the other stuff or renting the other stuff, so he can push our permits. Which is the reason why you have such low turnout on the mobile stuff, because 2 people at say $10 or $15 an hour, he's just breaking even.
Yeah, I can't even imagine staffing that. I think.
Okay, so do we approve this with giving you some room to negotiate, or is that already in the contract?
Well,
you feel
no,
like?
I think just giving me authority to add in some of the restrictions regarding limitations of presence on the beach,
Okay.
which is in the contract.
Joan and Beth, did you hear that? Are y'all good with that?
Yeah, thank you, Wendy, so much for stopping and asking us to. We really appreciate that, don't we, Joan?
We do. And yes, I think it's fine.
Yes, I agree with Dave. I think the Palapa idea is good, but when he has like 3 of them out, it's almost, it's blocking a lot of the beach up. So, but I make a motion to go ahead and accept Braun's bid for the next 2 years, right? Correct? These are 2-year.
Yeah, 2 years with the city manager's ability to adjust the
Layout.
the items, the layout of the items,
Yes.
locations.
I'll second that.
Okay, Fran, call the roll, please.
Mayorperson Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Bouillon,
Yes.
Councilmember Solomon,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, item D, resolution authorizing renewal of lease agreement with the Port Aransas Chamber of Commerce and Tourist Bureau for building and property at 403 West Cotter Avenue, legal description Mustang Island out of Lot 12, Block 141, and southeast part of Tract F. The address 421 Cotter Avenue West and Avenue A West, property ID 271032 for a 3-year term beginning October 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 2023, setting terms and rent amount of $18,000 annually for said lease agreement. Authorize the city manager to sign contract agreement and provide other matters relating to said contract agreement.
Fran, is Brett on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Can I be Grinch and ask a question?
Brett, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Things are good. I'm sitting here in the new Welcome Center. You can't tell. Let me change my background so you can see it. But it's pretty empty. So see, that's why I had one, because it's empty back here. But
All
yeah,
right.
I'll answer any questions. You know, the Welcome Center, we moved in early November, and it's been, you know, we're still an ongoing process, but very, very satisfied. There's a lot of pictures and things that we still are working on the fine tuning of it, but it's coming along good. We lit it up well for the holidays and excited about the future.
Yeah, it looked really good at Christmas.
So I just a question, and this is thing. So this rent is clearly under market rate. Is there a reason why that is so?
I think it's, let me give you the history of it. At one point, when I first got here, it was free. Then it went around, and Darla could jump in with the years, but around 2005, I think when Kovacs arrived, he bumped it up to $1,000 a month. And then about 5 years later, it went to $1,500 a month, where it is now. Okay. You know, I think, Bruce, the reason for the underpricing on that is just the partnership with the chamber.
Sure.
We also give the chamber an extra, you know, of course, we give them by law the 3%, and that's coming up. That's not this item, that's in a follow-up item, but we give them the 3%, or give them, it's theirs, out of the hot tax collection. But we also, on top of that, give them a 0.25% bonus in addition to the 3%, as extra money that they can use towards marketing, reaching out to tourism.
Sure.
You know, so to me, it'd be kind of counterintuitive to charge them full rate, but then on the other hand, you're giving them this big bonus. So it's kind of.
Well, I look at it as that is lower rent than you would pay for long-term R1 residential, and this is a CZ2 property, and it just seems that either you charge them what I'm gonna say, you either at least charge them fair market, or you don't charge them at all. I just think that when you give them like this big discount, it's like what's the point? So, and I guess the reason why you do that is, do we say, for example, the animal shelter, that's a city thing, but they would pay a rent, I'm assuming.
Who's that?
Like our animal control or the Parks and Rec. Do they in their budget, is that like a lease?
No, because those are city employee, city buildings, that's all under the city's budget. The chamber is not under our budget. We fund, or tax base funds their budget, but they're not part of the city. But because what they do is promote the city, we give them a discount on their rent. I don't think we could not charge them.
No, I just think that, that I have a house in R1 that rents for more than that. And it's probably half the size. It's like, 1,500 square feet or something. So I don't know exactly what the square footage of the chamber is, but I
think if the purpose of the city of Port Aransas was a for-profit organization, and we wanted to maximize the rents of our buildings, and it was a tourist-based business, that we probably would charge them some kind of fair rent. But sure, because of the relationship, I think what we're charging them is more than appropriate.
Well, I guess just the flip side is, if I look at it is, say the city's going to pay wear and tear on the building, insurance, and in they don't, obviously are not gonna pay tax, but just upkeep and maintenance on the building, that probably doesn't even cover that. Or it probably is very minimal. So I don't know. This is just my thought. I read it and I thought, it just seems crazy. Either you wouldn't charge them at all, or you would charge them, I would think, market. But again, this is why I'm asking and not saying this is it.
Anybody else have comments in that regard? Joan, Beth, Chuck,
Is this
Shannon?
an adjusted rate or is it same? Is it the 18,000?
That's the pre-Harvey rate. That's
Okay.
what I was trying to look at what year, but.
No, I don't have a problem with the rent. I mean, we, are in a good relationship with the Chamber of Commerce, and that's, I think that's an appropriate rent.
Mayor? You're a landlord.
I don't have a problem with it. We've
I mean,
always,
if it was somebody else, yes, we would definitely
what is that?
do market price rent, but it's like you said, we're gonna give them tax
discounts?
break, give them a bonus.
3.25 is what we give them.
Yeah.
And another two, you said another 2.5 usually.
Well,
on
we
top
give them
of
the
that.
0.25 as a bonus on top of the 3.
And their rent, they had the building for free prior to 2011. 2011 is when we started.
2011 it was free?
2011 is the first year we charged, and we charged 18,000. It was free prior to that.
Oh, I thought at one point it was 1,000, Darla.
No, it was zero. It went from 0 to 18.
Oh, okay.
That's all on you, sir.
No, that was Kovacs. Still,
Well,
no, Kovacs was gone.
Yeah, 2011.
Oh, it was Robert Bradshaw.
Well, if everybody's happy with it, Brett, are you?
Yeah, I mean, so where a lot of chambers and tourism bureaus, partner directly with their cities. So most of them find either free space or long-term leases that are well below. Where I came from before, it was $1 a year. We put $2,000 into a maintenance fund, and then it was a 20-year lease. So, this only being a 3-year lease, and if you want to continue as you have in the past, and I'm, relatively new here, so we're satisfied with it. We budgeted for that and would, be willing partners on that rate.
All right.
Any other comments? Motion?
Motion to approve the,
Second.
Okay, Fran, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
yes,
Councilmember Solomon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Beal.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item E, resolution approving the hotel motel tax agreement with the Port Aransas Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau from the city's occupancy tax receipts for the period commencing of October 1st, 2020, ending September 30th, 2021. Estimated monthly disbursement to the chamber is a total of 3.25% of the total hotel motel occupancy tax collected by the city, directing that such funds be transferred by the city to the chamber monthly as tax revenues are received by the city, and authorizing the city manager to sign such contract agreements.
Darla, you want to lay this one out?
Yes, I can. I'll just kind of talk about last year's numbers. Actually, let me just state, post Harvey, we had no idea where our hotel motel tax was going to land. So what we do now is we take every month and pay the chamber 3.25% of our 7% total collection. Pre-Harvey, we came up with an estimate of where we thought it would be, paid them on a quarterly basis for that. And then at the end of the year, we might do a budget amendment if we had collected additional tax, which typically we did. So now for ease of administration, we just pay them monthly on actual collections. And we've been paying them 3.25% of the 7% collected. Last year, we paid them $2,491,000. that extra 1/4% equated to about 191,000 last year, 191,641. So that's kind of where it stands.
Darla, I'm saying, did we pay them 3% or 3.25% last year? Because it says we're increasing it.
No, we paid him 3.25% last year.
So it's not.
Where's the word increase, Bruce? Let me see.
Under says financial impact increase from 3 to 3.25% hot funds.
Yeah,
Well, we didn't increase it from last year. It is an increase on what is required. By state law, 3% is required to go to sales and marketing, which the chamber is our sales and marketing arm.
Right.
So no, it was not an increase from the prior year. It may have been an increase when we have not done a contract post Harvey because it kind of fell through the cracks that it was a written in contract resolution. So probably the prior resolution was probably 3%.
Darla, didn't post Harvey, didn't we drop back down to 3? I know we were at 3.25 and then we dropped down to 3 and then we went back up again.
I think that's right, Dave.
I think we did. I think last year we got back up to 3.25, but
yeah, I think it was, I think right after the hurricane, we were kind of squeezing our budget and we dropped back down to 3.0. Then we went back up to 3.25 once our recovery kind of gained a little steam.
the 18-19 budget year, we did do 3.25%.
Right. Yeah.
Which was the post-Harvey year. Let me look at.
Yeah, but what about 17-18?
Let me open up 17-18 real quick. It'll just take a second. Hotel percent allocation. It was 3. So 17-18 budget year, we went down to 3 and we went back up the 18-19 budget year and have stayed at 3.25% since then.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
So I think on the agenda, it's correct. The resolution item report is probably incorrect. So
That's fine.
it's a good catch, Bruce.
Well,
I mean, I had the same question.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Haberton Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Solomon,
Yes.
Councilmember Owen,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Mayor Bouillon.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, item F.
Brett.
Oh, thanks, Brett.
Thank you.
We'll do some face-to-face reports after this COVID.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Have you
lots of good things to tell you guys.
Great. Love to hear it.
Thank you.
All right, item F, resolution ordering a joint general election and establishing procedures for said election to be held on Saturday, May 1st, 2021. The general election shall be for the purpose of electing 3 council members to fill positions 1, 3, and 5, providing other matters relating to general election and authorizing the city secretary to enter into a joint election agreements with other local political subdivisions.
What do you guys say next part?
Yeah.
No.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Call roll.
call the roll, that's right.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Haberton Moore,
Yes.
Councilmember Solomon,
Yes.
Councilmember Owen,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Mayor Bouillon.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item G, resolution awarding the request for proposal for one 32-foot Class A 1500 GPM side mount pumper truck for the Port Aransas Volunteer Fire Department from Metro Fire Apparatus Specialists, Inc. in the amount of $694,952. Funding from the fiscal year 2021 budget account number 050600307, authorizing future budget amendments from fiscal year 2021 budget and authorizing the city manager to sign all documents associated with said purchase.
Just want to let y'all know that this is going to be financed in the future. It just takes so long to build that we can't really lock in our percentage rate at this time.
Yeah, it
I
takes-
hope somebody read the 200-page description of this pumper thing.
Actually, I
wasn't
did.
about to do it, but
Bruce probably
I did
did.
read part of it, and one of the things that stood out was I didn't realize it was going to take 425 days, which is basically almost a year and a quarter to build a pumper truck. And I thought, is that a typo? Is it really going to take that long? Wow.
If it really takes that long, do we pay for it out of this year's budget then?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be financed in the future. It's just, I can't really lock in the financing at this point because we don't want to finance the asset that we don't have yet.
Okay, so,
We're just approving the purchase order today.
but out of this year's fiscal budget, even though it's going to be financed out of the next year's possible fiscal year budget?
That's the line item that it's going to come out of, but it's not technically in the budget for that amount at this point. We do have a placeholder in there if, when we order it, they realize that we could get financing and pay in advance, we may make the first payment, but the whole thing is not in there by any means. We have 69,000 in there for first payment.
Right, which is most likely not going to be this fiscal year.
Right.
Probably not.
Okay, any other questions?
That's an expensive, long time truck.
And it's probably I think the lifespan of those are about 18
20?
years. 20 years, yeah.
It's a long term. I know, I understand because I know the one we had just from my brother told me that's the one he used to drive and
Yeah.
it was old when he drove it. But yeah, motion to approve. Just didn't realize it would take so long.
Okay, Fran?
Councilmember Holt,
yes.
Councilmember Sondemine,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Mayor Bouillon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, item G, awarding request
H.
for, sorry, yep. Item H, a resolution authorizing a 10-year tax exempt lease purchase financing proposal from Government Capital Corporation for a 100-foot RM platform tower ladder truck for the Port Aransas Volunteer Fire Department. Purchase price of $1,252,440 at a 2.06% annual payment of $137,033.11, and authorizing the city manager to act as the executive officer and authorized representative of the city in all matters pertaining to said lease purchase.
So in September of 2019, so you're looking 16, 17 months ago, we approved to order this ladder truck and it should be here around the end of March. So now we are bringing to you the financing arm for that. We have $125,000 in this year's budget for the payment because we didn't know where the bid was going to fall. Our annual payment is going to be $137,033. So we will probably need to take part of that $69,000 for the pumper truck to make up the additional $12,000 payment that's going to be needed for this truck. But yes, this truck took October, November, December, January, about 19 months to build, 18, 19 months to build.
Year and a half.
Yep.
Mhm. It is in Houston now and it has been inspected and they're making the final tweaks on it.
Okay, I have a question. When you look at the actual agreement from government capital, it says the payments begin 1 year from signing and annually thereafter. So if we sign this tonight, tomorrow, whenever, the first payment wouldn't be due until next January. So again, wouldn't that be out of
These are supposed to be done. These are supposed to be done annual in advance, 1 year from signing and annually thereafter.
payments beginning 1 year from signing and annually thereafter. So to me, we wouldn't have to make a first payment for a year, which would be next year's budget.
That is what that reads. And that's not what I had asked her to get. They're annual in advance.
Well,
That means that the interest
Annual
goes
in
down.
advance. So you may want to table this and we bring it to you next month and then redo it.
Yeah,
Okay. That would make the payment go down, that's for sure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I motion that we table it.
okay. We're going to table this measure and let you clarify that and then bring it back to us.
Yep.
Good catch, Wendy.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. All right, item I, resolution temporarily prohibiting the public consumption or possession with the intent to consume alcoholic beverages on the Port Aransas beaches beginning Friday, May 5th, 2021 through beginning Friday, March 5th, 2021 through Monday, March 22nd, 2021, inclusive between the hours of 6 p.m. and 12 a.m. and providing the police department and enforcement and prohibition should there be a life or public safety issue.
Prohibition.
It has worked in the past.
Annual spring break.
I don't think there's going to be much of a spring break.
Well, the thing is, you can come up.
Chief, would you like to come up and give us your thought about how it's worked in the past and what might happen this year?
Yeah, hard to believe we're only 43 days away from spring break. We put this provision in the ordinance, I think about 6 years ago, to address the violence that had been occurring on the beach after dark at that time. Since this ordinance has gone into effect, we've had, I think, 1 stabbing, 0 shootings. Sexual assaults are down to almost nothing. I mean, it's been extremely effective. The crowds have become so used to it that they self-police themselves. And at 6 o'clock, they start vacating the beach without us even having to move forward. So it's just become part of the Port A culture.
So let's keep it as it is, but Texas A&M, they're not going to have spring break.
Well, a whole bunch of them are already down to like a day or
So I don't
zero.
think we have a lot to
There's
worry
22
about.
colleges and school districts that have either canceled or reduced it down to 3 days or less.
We should probably we'll still probably have the high schools because they're still having spring break from my understanding, but yeah, all the colleges are
All
off.
the kids still come though.
Yeah,
For the most part.
we're not anticipating the weekday crowds that we've had in the past, but we're still going to run a full op for the weekends.
Joan, Beth, do y'all have any comments or questions?
No, I remember, Wendy, you and I 6 years ago driving around spring break when that first year it got implemented. No, I think.
No. That was you, David. Yes, Beth, you're right. The first year we were on council and it was very impressive to see the chief and his team put it into action, so.
Yeah, I remember riding with Chief and having a fight on the hood. Chief was beating the hell out of that guy.
That was, that's an
that's true.
eye-awakening experience.
I think police ride-along should be mandatory for council people. At least once in your tenure. You know?
This is the year.
So he couldn't get back in.
If you're mayor, you get to go all the time.
That probably, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve if we don't have any more discussion.
All right.
I'll second that.
Okay, Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Conley,
Yes.
Mayor Tim Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Beyond.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Item J, resolution approving professional services task order agreement with EDR Architects PLLC, providing task order number 8 in the amount of $10,000 for the engineering for the conceptual design of the Parks and Recreation Lifeguard Building, setting term, conditions, fees, responsibilities, and services of owner and engineer, and authorizing the city manager to sign said agreement.
Michael, are you there?
Yes, sir. So,
Okay.
hello, everyone. This is for EDR. We did have a project capture cost from Hurricane Harvey. We had a pretty good insurance deduction that was applied to this, so we have insurance proceeds, but there is enough, it's a small project with FEMA, so we're capped. But this is to get us started and get the cost and the concept and all put together, and we'll be paid with those funds.
Dave, we talked about doing, this is a lifeguard station. We talked about putting that down on the county property. Have they?
The only place we could put it down there was off of Dunes. Is it Dunes Drive or Dunes Lane? I always get confused. Dunes Drive. Is that Dunes Drive at the end of the lane? Dunes Lane or
Yeah.
Dunes Drive?
Dunes Way.
Dunes Way.
Yeah.
All right. So we did look at it down there. The problem down there was no sewer and a lot of wetlands on the property. So the county, anywhere on Beach Street does not have sewer. And then tying into the county's force main was a big problem. So we've pulled back, and where we want to spot this is on the new city property, in between, just to the south of the new EMS fire building. So it's where the old water district offices were, right in that location right there. We think that's a great match for lifeguards to be next to EMS fire.
Are they going
to? In many cities, lifeguards are part of EMS and fire. We're not there yet, but it's still under Parks and Rec. But we think that's a great spot. It already has the water sewer available.
Yep. Is that going to give them any room to grow if they we get like jet skis or some other life-saving device?
The facility we designed, it has growth, puts them in a good spot. It's spacious. And then on the south side, you would have public works. So between fire, EMS, lifeguard building, and public works, it would flush out that whole block.
Okay.
And so we've master planned the whole block with the two new public works and the fire EMS building, and then the lifeguards nestled right in the middle.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Yep.
Second. Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Chuck was fast. All right, can you call the roll?
Councilmember Solomon,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Booyan.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, item K, resolution awarding request for proposal for the high-pressure gas main replacement to Equix Energy Services LLC in the amount of $6,088,230. Funds from Hurricane Harvey account 999, authorizing future said budget amendment for fiscal year 2021 budget, and authorizing the city manager to sign all documents associated with said contract agreement.
Yes, this is the high pressure line we bid out. We actually had a great turnout for the bids. We have version 2 pending on the FEMA amendment for this money, and we're recommending that this be awarded, please.
Troy Construction didn't want to do it, did they?
I was going to say, they must know something else everybody else doesn't, but they seem
No,
like
they wanted it.
Wow, that's a big variance.
And this was the second time we had bid this. We bid it, if you guys recall. Michael, was that back in November?
It's been a while, yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it was November. We did bid this in November, and then the two low bids were DQ'd due to just things that they had missed in the bidding process. And the safe thing to do was, instead of going all the way up to the third bid responsive bidder, was just to rebid it. Clarify the issues that those two people missed and rebid it. So we did that in November, December, and then you're seeing here the rebidded item with the corrections. And they did hold pretty low. So if you look at where the third place bidder was, which was the responsible bidder back in November, he's pretty much right at that $6 million number. So it didn't change much.
Right. Well, I just like the fact that 3 or 4 of them are all about the same amount of money, which means that at least they're all looking at the same scope of work.
Yeah, I mean, really, those first 6 bids are all pretty tightly packed, you know.
Yeah.
I may have missed
Also
it.
in line with Urban's estimate, so they were all right in that range we were expecting.
When do you think this will start?
Michael, what's remaining on FEMA side before we pull the trigger on? I know we can enter into the contract, but we still have a couple hurdles.
Yes, we're still in the environmental stuff we have out there, but those should move quickly.
Okay. Well, I got a bigger question here.
Yeah.
So this is going to take 270 days, and it's a $6 million project, and we get FEMA reimbursement, but they're going to want $6 million in 270 days. A, does the city have that kind of budget to weather that? And B, I mean, obviously we don't have $6 million just sitting in the bank. So I was curious as what's the plan for that?
Well, that was the amendment I was telling you is pending for $6 additional million. That's from FEMA to do the reimbursements, which have been coming in a steady pace. Also, we have money left over from the engineer piece of the 3 million plus we had obligated that we haven't used all of. So once this scope's in there, it's really going to be a reimbursement. We'll never be fully $6 million out of the city budget.
Okay. So, but we're still going to be, but you're still, even if the FEMA's reimbursement process and the pass is taking a couple months, I'm just basically worried about the float between the time we pay and the time we fund.
They give us advance for this. We just request an advance, and they've been doing that for this gas system because it's so large. We got a letter approved early on that we couldn't absorb all that in advance. So they give us money in advance.
Okay, perfect.
Michael, do you have any previous experience with this company? Most of all the rest were all out of Texas, and this was the low bidder out of Florida. And typically, you would think if they're coming from Florida, their mobilization would be a lot higher. I'm just curious.
Yeah, so we did vet them, and we did vet the bond. So we feel like we're secure there. I will say, the next companies out of Louisiana, I'm very, very familiar with them as well. And then the Texas guys started coming in. I saw this after Katrina when the recession was hitting most of the country. And I will tell you with the gas industry where it is, these guys are begging for work from the fueling, the petroleum gas stuff. So there's a lot of good companies and a lot of good resources out there right now with pipeline experience.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Beth, Joan, anything from you guys in the video land?
No.
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
All right, Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Zalmine,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Mayor Tim Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Booyan.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, item L, resolution awarding request for proposal for the lease of a dwelling for the emergency medical services staff to CCJ LLC for a 12-month term beginning April 1st, 2021, authorizing 2 6-month renewal options for a period not to exceed a total of 24 months. Funds for said unfunded expenditures from account 999-50218.061 hurricane recovery. Building rental EMS, authorizing budget amendment to fiscal year 2021, authorizing city manager to sign said agreement and setting terms, conditions, fees, and effective date.
We need to table this due to we're waiting on some FEMA response on whether or not it's approvable.
Okay.
Do we need to make that a motion, sir?
Where is that located?
This is the one, Mayor. It's located at the corner of Avenue J and 9th Street behind Coffee Waves.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I believe it used to be a haircut salon. Can't think of her name. Do we need to make a motion to table it, or is it just table?
Fran, do we just
Are you gonna bring it back next month?
possibly, yes?
So, pass.
We're gonna.
Oh, you pass.
We're going to pass on
We're
item
gonna
L.
pass on this one.
Do you have to vote on that or no?
No.
No.
Okay, moving on to item N, resolution approving professional services agreement amendment number 3 of the 2018 Disaster Recovery Consulting Services Contract Amendment with Broadus and Associates, approving proposed scope of service amendments, setting terms, conditions, fees, and effective date, and authorizing the city manager to negotiate contract agreement and sign all contract documents.
So this is a 3-month extension of the services with Broadus and Associates. It would start January 22nd, tomorrow, and run 3 months through April 30th, 2021.
Why only 3 months and not a whole year?
Michael, you want to jump in there? I know we discussed it, but
Yeah, I can. So, Bruce, couple reasons. One, we had leftover budget of about 1.4 million from last year. COVID, the response of FEMA and stuff, we were under budget from last year. So this allows us to do a date only change. And we are currently in the arbitration with the fire station and the public safety building, as well as pushing FEMA on version amendment 3 for the gas system. So we feel we can give you tighter, better numbers and have definitely a better outlook at the upcoming year after the arbitrations are completed. So instead of trying to give you a budget that's just determined, would have been a mimic of last year, we thought it was a better idea for us to come to you and say, let us give you a budget based on those arbitrations when those hearings are done, and use the leftover money from last year. We scaled our staff back pretty good towards the end of the year, especially because the FEMA wasn't keeping up.
So
really?
that means that you are still going to continue to work past that 3 months. This is just, right?
Oh, yes, ma'am. We hope to be here till the end. This was, like I said, I would have just given Darla last year's budget because I have nothing to base it on right now.
Okay, thanks.
You had surprise, Dave, you have a question?
What's that?
You said you had surprise. Was there a question?
No.
No.
Motion to approve.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Solomon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Buda.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Although I think you're up.
All right, item N, presentation from Broadus and Associates, providing a presentation on Hurricane Harvey recovery.
Yeah, Ben Cassavetes here with us as well. So Ben.
Yeah, this is.
Go ahead.
All right, this is Ben here. I'm going to start with the current construction going on. This week, we've been able to move forward. We got our environmental clearance with the enclosure of Charlie's Pasture bulkhead. So Shirley and Sons, the contractor, they are mobilizing next Monday to begin work. And this contract is an 80-day contract. That's their schedule. So we're looking for this work to be completed in April this year.
That's the blowout, correct, Ben?
Yep.
Yeah, it's the blowout. So it's the area right at the end of the drive on the concrete bulkhead that got blown out.
You okay, Mayor? You okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
It's going blind.
Yep. Also with the pier projects, we're still working through the environmental issues. We're trying to resolve it. One of the federal agencies doesn't want to talk to us, so we're pushing them to engage with us to have the conversation necessary to get this permit. We're pushing congressionally for them to speak with us. So we're being held up. We're ready to go, but we're being held up through FEMA's check, boxes they want us to check. And with the high pressure gas system, getting the signed contracts, mobilization, we can start this project middle to early April, where we'll actually see the contractor out here mobilized. Design projects, Michael's already alluded to, we're working with FEMA right now, negotiating with FEMA regarding these appeals with the fire station and the public safety building. The appeals team that is representing, or FEMA's hired, they're not very happy right now with the FEMA team. They think that they've been a little lazy, and it was proven within 2 weeks of submitting our arbitration for the public safety building. Their team reviewing it gave us close to $1 million extra in the project from things they said were easy justifications by the city of Port Aransas. So it's proof that this has been a long journey for everybody. It's been a stressful one. You guys have been patient, and it's paying off. We got some easy wins, and we're still working through it with our legal team, Mike Gaffney, and our internal team here with Broadus and Del Sol. So, Michael, do you have an idea how long this negotiation process with these projects, and they're both actively being discussed?
Yeah, so we're shooting. I meet with the attorney again tomorrow to go over some of the things, and we actually got some stuff from Janak tonight, but we are shooting for the end of February to try to have the public safety. Are we going to move forward and continue to agree, or are we going to go through the formal process? And then right behind it, the fire station, a few weeks behind it. And that's for our benefit to stretch them out in that couple-week time period. Like Ben said, our attorney has worked with the FEMA attorneys on many arbitrations, so there's a trust and an open relationship there. They're out of Baton Rouge. They're stationed. So we're hoping that we can do this progress quick in the next few weeks versus going through a more drawn out process.
All right.
I got a question when we get to us.
Ben, are you still giving us a report, or are you ready for questions?
Do you want me to go through the rest of the design stuff and the budget and then questions, or?
No, you can finish. Go ahead.
All right, I'll run through. Okay. So we're working on urban engineering is working on the high pressure, no, not the high pressure, sorry, the distribution system, replacing the gas system within the community. We're set to have that design completed end of February. So we'll have that. It should be 90% design. That'll carry us for the rest of the discussions we need to have with FEMA to cross the T's and dot every I and redot it and cross every T again with them for this funding. And along with that, we got Charlie's Pasture South Trail.
Ben, real quick.
Yep.
So just for clarification for council's sake and those watching, so what you guys approved tonight's just the high pressure line, and that runs that's Jay's down to the state park. It's about what is that, about 8 miles, Ben?
I think it's a little, it's 2 miles. It runs down 361. A 4-inch line, and then it's a 4-inch high pressure line, and then it comes into the distribution system where the pressure is lessened. And
right, and so the distribution system is all the spaghetti network inside of town.
Up to every home, every business.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, Ben. Go ahead.
No problem. So we're working on the Charlie's Pasture South Trail. This project we're getting 60% design this week or tomorrow from Urban Engineering, and we're going to be submitting that to the FEMA environmental team so we can start working on permitting and all the environmental clearances. As this walkway goes through the wetlands, there's going to be questions along with the endangered species. So we want to be proactive with that. And there's 3 other projects. We're with Urban. I don't have dates on them, but we should have 100% design ready for 3 other projects this spring, and that is the Charlie's Pasture bulkhead and sidewalk, completing that complete project, the sidewalk along the bulkhead, along with the extension, raising the bulkhead with some mitigation funds that we have. That design will be packaged and ready, along with 2 EDA projects with Robert Point Park. The parking lots there, Urban Engineering is working through that design. We have, David, we do have approval from the Port Authority, right?
Correct.
Yep, we have approval from them. And then also Dock 10, Urban Engineering is working through that design and to enhance, add additional slips there in the marina. So those are the design projects that are set to be complete this spring. And funding, the money, this last month we've been reimbursed $190,000. We have $500,000 in the queue for reimbursement with FEMA, and our total payout so far in the recovery is $28 million.
Yay.
All right, questions?
Yeah, I got a question for Ben and Mike. With the change of administration, the new FEMA director, do you anticipate any difficulties in getting money? Is it going to be harder, easier, or about the same?
Usually, with our experience, actually, it's a little bit of both. It is going to be easier, more than likely, to get money, just because, especially because of the government usually has more resources available to them. However, we do anticipate, which has been one of our biggest hurdles, the environmental regulations to be maxed out. So we'll get the funds obligated more likely. It usually helps us with the grants, but there are some bad things that come along with it too. Slows down, typically, red tape.
Well, it didn't get any easier the last 4 years.
Yeah, with the COVID.
I think that was something that just didn't get touched.
When you say slows down, that's not very.
Well, COVID, I'm trying to forget COVID in 2020 altogether, so I apologize. But 2019 prior. But I'll say this, we have a lot of, it's been obvious why we're only arbitrating 2 projects. What has been apparent to the arbitration panel and the attorneys is a lot of work from FEMA's being done poorly. A lot of holes are being left empty. So that is being communicated back to leadership, and I expect that to probably turn around.
We can only hope.
Yep.
Anybody else have any other questions for Michael or Ben? Beth, Joan, y'all have questions?
No,
Comments?
Thank you for all y'all do.
Thanks, you guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, guys.
Okay. We are down to number 9, the city manager report. Item O, presentation and general discussion of the 87th legislative session issues, including but not limited to Texas Windstorm Insurance Association and miscellaneous bills being created in the 2021 legislative session. David.
Okay, so I've included in your packet the update from January 15th. This update, so of course this isn't all the bills because it's approaching, by this time it's probably around 1,000. So TML puts together every week a bills to watch. So that's kind of what I track. So I've included that in your packet. I don't know if you guys have gone through it. They kind of break it down into, about 6 different categories: property taxes, police, public safety, community, economic development. So if you guys have had a chance to go through there, some of the real nasty ones, they wait and they submit they submit them as late as possible so that the opposition doesn't have as much time to so a lot of those are just sitting in people's pockets right now. So the ones that you're looking at right now, there's not a whole lot of horrible ones in this particular list. Some of the bad ones, that HB 749 Middleton, he's out of just east of Beaumont, and this is the anti-lobbying. This is kind of a anti-city, anti-lobbyist thing. Basically what it would do is it would prohibit a political subdivision from spending any public funds on a lobbyist. So that's kind of where they want us to be without much help so that the Texas legislature can run cities.
Yes.
And they can decide your laws.
That's the danger.
Because it really weakens you when you can't hire help to go up there. So that's one that TML's definitely interested in.
Just interesting. What is your take on this Shine guy who has all these property tax appraisal things? Because it seems like that limits city revenue, but at the same time, it also, Port Aransas has pretty high appraisal and.
Yeah, I've read through those, Bruce. I don't know. They're pretty.
Well, some are like you can arbitrate, or you can actually fight the thing, and limits on the amount of tax to go up on homesteads.
Yeah, I mean, he's got about 10 in so far.
Well, yeah.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
If you flip the page, there's a couple more.
9.
Apparently, he hates his tax department.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Other ones I've highlighted. What was the one we were talking about today, Mayor?
Huh?
What was the odd one we were talking about today?
Well, I have a Freedom of Information Act request from Milton, but I've not heard anything.
Oh, there's a couple more, like signs in a right of way, a $10,000 fine.
To find out how he sent these letters out all over the state. I want to find out
Who paid for that?
who paid for that.
He's using his franking
Exactly right.
franking privileges.
Yeah. So was one of my questions to him. The other was provide us with a list of who he sent these to.
So as of yet, they have put out the protocol for entering into the Capitol this legislative session. Their proposal is to basically test everyone on site. So I think they're going to close down 2 of the entrances and have a mass testing facility on, I believe it's the north side. You come through, you test, you go to a holding area, and then you can move in through the building.
You mean like a COVID test or like a temperature test?
COVID.
Oh, because I've been to some trade shows where they temperature test you before they let you in.
Yeah. So we're watching at this point. People are still submitting bills. So right now it's just kind of a waiting game.
What I found most interesting about this information was that the budget shortfall was less than 1% and only about $1 billion, despite everything that's gone on with the COVID pandemic. So
What's that tell you?
Yeah, that's
shows that Texas might be doing okay, which is good, but man,
Well, I mean,
I don't think it's like that everywhere else.
it's not, but you know, we've been very blessed in the fact that people have been coming here and
That's Florida.
What's that?
That's Florida.
I think they probably.
They're about wiped out.
I've been pretty much told anywhere that you're along the coast has probably been you've had a pretty decent season.
Okay, so anything else on legislative
No,
update?
that's
Okay, anything else in general, David?
No.
All right, item 10, staff reports. Darla, we'll start with you according to the agenda, which is P, monthly, quarterly reports.
You have the written report. I'll be happy to discuss anything you would like. I will let you know that we got the golf carts in. They're for sale. We are already on 1,000. We opened a box with the 1,000th plate today. And we've done our first order of vanities. You can still do vanities of saving your name from the prior year till February 28th. And once March 1st hits, the vanity, if you did not renew it by that date, it's a free game for someone else to take it. And the beach parking permits they had a problem with the printing. They're not at Stripes and some of our other vendors yet, but I'm stopping by. They've redone them, and I'm going to see in the morning what they're like. And we'll be reaching out to the vendors and getting them to them, hopefully the beginning of next week. So our hotel motel tax is doing great. The first 3 months of the fiscal year were up 130% compared to last year. Our sales tax is also doing great. We're up 34% compared to last year. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address those.
I got a question real quick on the harbor slip rentals. It seems like we were up for October and November was up. And then for some reason, December, we were down by, it went from 151,000 last year to 19,000 this year. What happened there?
The way they
Sorry,
bill.
what rentals? The harbor?
Yes, it says harbor slip rentals.
We haven't booked the quarterly last year. The quarterly bills were printed before December 31st. And this year she ran them in January, so it hasn't been booked yet for the big quarterly rental bills.
That's fine. Just curious because it seemed like everything was up and I thought that was like way down. And so I figured it had to be a typo or something. So that's why I was curious.
Yeah,
And
it should be up.
It will be up because our slip rentals are really high right now. I think we're approaching 90%.
Right. It'll be higher. It'll be more in that 189,000, 190,000 range versus 151.
So in other words, January, when you report January, it's going to be the big number versus, you know, the more average number you would have in January based on how you bill.
Correct. Just timing of when you got the bills processed.
So if we're approaching 9% of the harbor, is that time to raise the rates?
If we're getting close to maxing out slip rentals?
Yeah.
Or slips? You know, I can bring you the numbers and you guys can decide that.
Well, I'm sure that's not popular, but it just seems that once you get close to full capacity, you're either too cheap or.
I know that UT is almost all leased out their docks that they haven't even got open yet. And
I wonder if we're going to lose some to that.
their prices are higher.
Yeah, they're higher.
Yes.
Yeah, but people like being in there, and you know, there's numerous ones that I know for a fact that are in our marina that will probably lose. So.
All right, anything else for Darla?
Darla, how many golf carts do we have out now, permits?
We just opened the box with the plate 1,000 in it today. And we placed
So we
the
have
vanity order. I'm sorry?
So there's 1,000 golf carts out there running around.
Legal 1,000 golf carts.
Legal 1,000.
We have with the 21 plates, we have licensed 1,000, and vanities, we placed our first order of about 350 plates. So we've sold about 1,350 plates so far.
How many plates did you actually order? Did you order 4,000 in anticipation?
I ordered
Okay.
4,000 this year.
Wow.
That's exactly how many ordered.
Somewhere along the line, we're going to have more golf carts than we have cars. And we need to really start thinking about what our approach is going to be when that happens.
Parking garages, sir.
Bicycles?
I was gonna say parking garages, but that's multi-story parking, car parks. There you go.
All right, anything else for Darla?
Thank you,
Okay.
Darla.
Thanks, Darla.
Thank you, Darla.
You're looking good on video.
You look amazing, Darla.
Chief, your turn.
Darla, do you come into the office still? She not on?
Yeah, she's coming.
She does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because I had something for her, I just wanted to.
Yeah, come on.
I've been coming into the office. I just Zoomed for the meeting.
Oh, that's fine. I just have something to leave on your desk.
Thank you.
I'll put it in.
Thank you.
Especially if it's food.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
Don't trust David.
Well, fortunately, no major incidents to report. We had a really, very good Christmas with the Emergency Services Toy Roundup. We had fewer clients and more revenue in toys this year, so everybody had had a very nice Christmas. We've been focusing on our end of year reports for both the state and internally. We've made hiring offers for our animal control officer position, for our dispatch position, and for 2 of the 4 vacant patrol positions we have. So we've been having a pretty successful round of employee hirings.
Chair Kelsey, with the year-to-date arrest, how has that compared to last year?
Down about 25%.
Even though we had more people this year?
Yes.
They're behaving.
Well, the bar's been closed.
Well, that's true too.
That's a very good point.
There you go.
All right. Any other questions for Chief?
None.
All right, we'll move on to EMS. Ed, you're up.
Thanks. We closed out the year 1,007 dispatch medical calls. So that's up 7% from last year, and was kind of what we'd expected when we started tracking the numbers in August, September. I do want to say that we still got several the larger condos that once they start opening up, they've always been busy. Always had been busy spots for us. Aransas Harbor, Klein's Landing, the Dunes, and so like I said, overall we're down pre-Harvey, but it's steadily been rising. And as soon as these larger condos open up, we're expected to be very busy when they'll start filling up. Last month we did have an uptick in the reported COVID cases through Nueces County, with about 20 residences being reported. Even though that was up about 11%, we didn't have any uptick in transports or even calls that were, which is good, which indicates that even though people were testing positive, they weren't sick enough that they required EMS transport to the hospital, which is good. Our average response time for the year, we were at 5 minutes, 21 seconds, which is still almost 90 seconds below the national average. So we're pretty proud of that. And of course, as far as general calls go, December we did have a few more expected serious cases. As far as we had 5 emergency transports to the hospital, and we usually see that in this December, January. The population comes down; they tend to be older, the chronic illness, so respiratory and cardiac incidences that usually require those emergency transports is pretty normal. I'd like to report that we were able to get majority of our emergency staff their first round of the COVID vaccination. We do still have a handful that we are working really hard to make sure they can get their shot. There's just been a lack of supply through our provider. We're getting shots through CCFD. And so they're waiting for a shipment. As soon as they get that, we're going to make sure we get the rest of our staff taken care of for their first vaccinations. I do want to say we are back to fully staffed. We filled our full-time position, paramedic by Albert Howie. He's been with us 16 years as a part-timer, and we were happy to bring him in full-time. I will also say since November, we had a goal of bringing in 6 additional part-time staff, and we have every one of those spots should be filled by the end of this month. And that's going to be really critical for us in order to manage our payroll budget. Other than that, I do want to say that if you've noticed around town, especially during the day, a lot more ambulance activity. This month we did, starting the beginning of January, during the daytime hours, any calls we're dispatched to, we are sending both our units. For safety reasons, we'll send the first unit will go lights and sirens, while the second unit follows up following regular traffic rules. And we're finding that extra manpower on scene is good to just having extra hands on scene. I mean, it's reduces the chance of any injuries. We find that it's overall has just helped us shorten our on-scene times, and it's been well accepted with the staff. So we're going to continue doing that.
Sorry to interrupt. How does that affect secondary calls?
Well, we did analyze that, and looking at all our numbers last year, we found that there was a 4% incidence of of a call dropping within 15 minutes of another call. And so we kind of took that as a, since it happened so infrequently, that it was worth us going ahead and putting it into place. And then we also said if for whatever reason on their way to the call, if the second call drops, they'll just disengage. And if they happen to be on the call, then they will safely disengage as soon as they're finished with whatever patient handling or whatever they're involved in. And so we felt it was a acceptable risk to take. And so far we haven't had any incidences. Of course, it's something we're going to watch closely. But it definitely, I feel it's a good utilization of the equipment and staff we have, and beneficial. Something we probably should have been doing for quite a while. And that's the bulk of it. Like I said, we're monitoring COVID vaccination availability for the staff. I'm working with Rick, and we're working with the PASD nurse, with Dr. Russell, as far as planning our future lookout, as far as perhaps what do we need to do for the community as the COVID vaccine becomes more broadly available, possibly looking at seeing what we can do to make sure that if we have a provider in the area that has vaccine, can we host them locally in order to get that vaccine to our community closer, as opposed to having people rely on some of these distribution centers out in deeper into Nueces County. So expect some movement on that over the next 2 months.
That would be incredible if we could get shots out to everyone over 65 in Port Aransas, or is also health-wise.
Absolutely.
First, that would be incredible if we could do that.
It would be a miracle. Great if we could do it.
Yeah.
Ed, to that point, I mean, are there not any other smaller communities that are doing that, or is it based on county? Because I've heard some local Port Aransas residents just this past few days, they went to a completely different county that was smaller and got their vaccine because clearly it wasn't working in Nueces. So I'm just curious, is that even a possibility?
It is a possibility if that other county is accepting people outside the county, such as Nueces County is, then absolutely. And we're going to try to find partners, because it seems like the idea is if someone gets vaccine, they want to make sure they're using it efficiently. You know, they want to make sure it's when you hold an event and you try to advertise, and you want to hope that people register and show up for the vaccine, and they had to have leftovers or people not show up. And so we try to work as close as we can with people that are expecting to get vaccine, and then trying to help them as far as being able to distribute it. I know HEB right now. HEB is partnering with AP in order to hold an event this weekend. I'm not sure if that's. It looked like it was on, but I heard that maybe possibly they didn't get their delivery. So, but that's something we're trying to look into as far as having an event closer to the city, and it's more accessible to our residents.
One of the problems right now is on a call this afternoon with the state. One of the problems is that they were a little overly optimistic on the doses. So for the next 2 weeks, the state of Texas is only going to get 332,000 new doses to be allocated at the existing hubs. So that's the problem, is that even the providers that have already been designated aren't getting supplied. They're really trying to run it through the metropolitan hubs. The other dilemma is that with all the first round of shots that they gave, I think they were also counting on the preliminary numbers for resupply, and now they've got a huge dilemma in they've got a second round of shots, close to 500,000 they need for shots they've given over the past 3 weeks. They're all now coming staggered for the second round shot. So the problem is just the juice. The good news is that they announced, and you may have heard it on the news as well, but Johnson & Johnson's getting ready to submit for their approval of a single dose vaccine that doesn't have the same cooling requirements as Moderna and Pfizer. So that'll be a game changer once Johnson & Johnson gets their single dose done. So right now, they're just not getting the juice. For those that also again, the mass vaccinations they've been doing out at the fairgrounds, and again, I know they've had a lot of logistical problems. They're getting better. They're building the plane in midair, so they're learning as well. But for those that have a couple hours to volunteer, the volunteers that are helping, again, with intake and the other things, are getting their shots. So if you know somebody that's mobile and can get down there, like I said, just you guys call me and I'll give you the information as to how to volunteer. But it, like I said, it will give you the opportunity to get a shot. Still may, your shift's going to be a few hours, but it may be better than waiting in line and having a bad outcome at the end.
Rick, does this still have to be stored at below 60 degrees?
Well, a couple of different ones. So the Pfizer, I think, is like 32 below it or something like that, 40 below.
Yeah.
Cold. And the Moderna is closer to freezing, closer to 32. So Moderna is a little bit easier to manage. And that again is one of the problems and one of the logistics for smaller communities like ours. But like Ed said, we're working. This CVS will, is an approved CVS to give the vaccines. But the problem is allocation. Everything's running through the state and the state's allocating the hubs, and they've still got a long way to go to get the 1As and the 1Bs vaccinated. So I talked to the county EMC, Melissa. We're going to talk Monday when I get back about alternatives to see if again, like some of you mentioned, even if we have to look at transporting the folks from here to the vaccine site. Because like I said, I'm just afraid that here at the end of the road, it's going to be a long time before we get any allocations at like CVS or anything else. We're working on it. Ed's done a great job. Like I said, he and I are trying to get that happening, but right now I think that's a long way down the road, and the best solution maybe to look at alternatives. And I was thinking earlier that maybe we work something out to transport folks to a vaccine site. So like I said, we know the dilemma. We're just trying to figure out solutions.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. I wonder if we did get in that situation, RTA would help us out and be able to shuttle people.
That's exactly the route I'm thinking, is that we talk to RTA and see. We certainly contribute enough to the system. So that's one. And then Ed and I will talk offline about other opportunities. There's some that are going to be in a higher state of acuity, with some illness. So we got to, they're not as dialysis and other patients. So like I said, it's a struggle. And that's when we realize we're at the end of the road here sometimes, and we really got to rely on our county partners and the other ones. As much as we want to be self-reliant, we don't have the resources.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
All right. Anything else from anybody on the monthly, quarterly reports? Mm-hmm. Okay, item Q, minutes from the following city council committees, boards, and commissions. Looks like we got the minutes in the packet from Nature Preserve, Technical Advisory Board, Parks and Recs Advisory Board, and the Planning and Zoning Commission.
We don't need to approve them. We just need to, they're just there for our FYI, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, just because this one says, well, anyway, it's fine.
Okay. Item 11, city council comments and items for future consideration.
I just, Ms. Holt, if I, and what I want to update everybody is yesterday we had the Port Aransas storm water management project and reports updates yesterday. And so just to name the players that are in it, obviously you have council members. Ms. Holt is running it. We got Freeze and Nichols Incorporated. You got the city of Port Aransas staff with Mr. Parsons, Colleen Simpson, Ray Mooney. And then we have the Mission Aransas NERR of UT Marine Science Institute, Sarah Cunningham. And then there's advisory committee members, and I'm just reading off this document. There's probably more, and there's been more players. So you got Frank Morgan, Jim Irvin, Mark Young, Nicole Boyer, Rick Adams, Garrett Kipke, Judy Parker, and Cliff Strain. As was out of yesterday's meeting that they'll be bringing, and I believe it'll be presented to council at the next meeting, not for any major decisions, but be a presentation. And so in reference to that, some of the items talking about there'll be a proposed stormwater ordinance to look at. There would be some proposed or amendments to certain ordinances that put this in place. And so they're dotting their i's, crossing their t's, getting that information. So I believe at the next council meeting, there'll be a presentation put on for us to look at. Did I do that all right, Ms. Jones?
Yeah, that's the CMP proposal, Dave, that the city has. And they've kind of come to the end and they're going to present next week. Yeah.
Great. Anybody have anything else? Mr. Mayor, anything?
Have nothing.
All right.
Council, just, we're going to have a lot of openings on P and Z just from circumstances. So please help us spread the word to get people